Christmas had always been a complicated time for me. While everyone else seemed to embrace the warmth and joy of the season, I often found myself caught in the expectations of my family rather than enjoying the holiday on my own terms. That year, I thought I had planned everything perfectly. I had bought myself a small gift, reserved tickets to a Christmas concert I had been dreaming about for months, and even blocked out a quiet afternoon to watch my favorite holiday movies in peace. It was supposed to be my first Christmas in years that felt like it was truly mine. But a text from my sister shattered that illusion before the holiday even began. She casually mentioned, with the kind of nonchalance that made my chest tighten, that my parents expected me to babysit all 5 of my younger cousins for the day. I stared at my phone, rereading the message, hoping that maybe my brain had skipped a line or that autocorrect had betrayed me. No, it was exactly what I thought. They planned to dump 5 energetic, sugar-fueled children on me for the entire Christmas day. The text ended with a cheerful, "See you at 9 a.m." As if this was a normal request rather than a complete invasion of my holiday. I felt a mixture of disbelief, frustration, and hurt. Why was I the one they assumed would sacrifice my time, my plans, my enjoyment, just because I didn't have kids of my own? Why did they think I existed solely to serve their convenience? My family had always leaned on me to step in during chaotic moments, but this crossed a line. I could feel my excitement for the concert slipping away, replaced by a creeping sense of obligation that I refused to accept. For a moment, I considered just saying yes. It would have been easy, too easy. I could have packed my bags, stocked up on snacks, and spent the day running around keeping 5 children entertained while my family relaxed. But as I pictured the concert hall, the lights dimming, the music swelling, and my favorite carols filling the air, I realized I couldn't let that vision be stolen from me. Something had to change, and it had to change now. I quickly typed a response, careful to keep my tone polite but firm. I explained that I had already made plans that could not be rescheduled and that Christmas was one of the few days I got to dedicate to myself. I reminded them that while I loved my cousins, 5 kids for an entire day was beyond reasonable. I sent the message and felt a tiny flicker of relief, though I knew it might not be the end of it. As expected, my parents called almost immediately. Their voices were a mix of confusion, guilt, and subtle manipulation. "But it's Christmas," my mom said, as if the holiday itself gave them the right to commandeer my time. My dad tried to reason with me, listing all the ways I had supposedly, always helped, the family. I listened, resisting the urge to argue, because deep down, I knew that arguing wouldn't change their sense of entitlement. Instead, I calmly repeated my stance. I wasn't refusing to help them forever, but I was refusing to have my personal time hijacked. The turning point came when I realized I didn't need to negotiate or justify myself any further. I had made a choice, and I had every right to protect it. I gently but firmly told them that I had commitments that could not be changed and that I expected them to respect my decision. I could hear the surprise in their voices, mixed with disappointment, but I refused to let it sway me. For the first time, I wasn't apologizing for wanting my own holiday. I wasn't bending to their expectations or sacrificing my happiness to meet their convenience. On Christmas morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't have the chaos of 5 kids bounding around my apartment. I didn't have to answer to anyone or rearrange my plans at the last minute. Instead, I put on my favorite holiday sweater, brewed a cup of hot cocoa, and settled into my little sanctuary of peace. The music from the concert played through my laptop as I wrapped myself in a blanket, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I truly owned my Christmas. Later that day, I received texts from my cousins, who were having a blast at their own family's home. There was no anger, no resentment, just the kind of joyful messages that reminded me I had made the right choice. My parents eventually called back, their tone slightly softened. They didn't fully understand my decision, but I could tell they respected my boundary, even if reluctantly. That Christmas taught me a valuable lesson. It's okay to say no, even to family, even during the holidays. Protecting your time and your happiness isn't selfish, it's necessary. I discovered that standing up for myself didn't make me a bad person, it made me someone who valued her own life and experiences. That day, I reclaimed my holiday, and in doing so, I realized that sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the courage to refuse what doesn't serve you. I had always loved Christmas, but for me, the holiday had become more about navigating family expectations than enjoying any genuine joy. That year, I was determined to do things differently. I had carefully planned a quiet Christmas for myself, a day free from obligations, full of simple pleasures like watching my favorite holiday movies, baking cookies for my own enjoyment, and even taking a short trip to see the city decorated in lights. I was excited for a Christmas that felt truly mine. That excitement, however, quickly evaporated when I received a group message from my family. The tone was casual, almost breezy, but the content hit like a punch to the stomach. My parents assumed I would spend the entire holiday taking care of their grandchildren. Not one, not two, but 5 kids who were notoriously energetic, mischievous, and prone to fighting. It wasn't a request, it was a statement. "We'll see you at 9 a.m. with the kids," it read, as if my plans didn't exist or mattered at all. I stared at the screen, frozen, my mind racing. How had they decided this for me without even asking? How could they assume that I would cancel my own life to become a full-time babysitter for the day? A wave of frustration and hurt washed over me. I had spent months looking forward to this Christmas, anticipating a break from the usual chaos of family obligations. Yet here they were, assuming that my only role in the family was to serve their convenience. I felt anger bubbling inside me, mixed with sadness. This wasn't just about babysitting, it was about respect, or rather, the lack of it. They weren't asking, they were telling me what to do. For a moment, I considered giving in. It would have been easy to say yes. I could have smiled through the chaos, cleaned up after 5 kids, prepared snacks, and made the day manageable while my family enjoyed themselves. But as I pictured myself at the concert I had booked months ago, watching the lights, listening to music I loved, and feeling completely present for the first time in years, I realized I couldn't let them take that away from me. My holiday, my plans, my joy, they were not theirs to dictate. I took a deep breath and composed a message. I explained that I had already committed to plans that could not be changed and that Christmas was one of the few days I got to focus on myself. I emphasized that while I loved my cousins, taking care of 5 children for the entire day was not something I could reasonably do. I pressed send and felt a small sense of relief. I knew there might be pushback, but I also knew that standing firm was the only way to reclaim my holiday. Predictably, my parents called shortly after. Their tone was a mix of shock, confusion, and gentle manipulation. "But it's Christmas," my mom said, her voice dripping with expectation. My dad tried reasoning with me, listing all the ways I had always been helpful to the family. I listened without interrupting, feeling my resolve strengthen. I realized that I didn't need to argue or justify my choice. My decision wasn't up for negotiation. I calmly reiterated my position. I wasn't refusing to help them forever, I was refusing to sacrifice my own happiness and plans for their convenience. I could feel the tension on the other end of the line, but I held my ground. For the first time, I wasn't apologizing for wanting my own holiday. I wasn't bending to their expectations. I was asserting my right to enjoy my life on my terms. Christmas morning arrived, and I woke with a sense of liberation I hadn't felt in years. I didn't have to juggle 5 kids, clean up messes, or entertain arguments. Instead, I brewed a cup of coffee, turned on the music I loved, and allowed myself to fully enjoy the day. The apartment was quiet, warm, and filled with the kind of peace I hadn't realized I had been craving. I watched the snowfall outside, sipped my drink, and finally let myself relax without guilt. Throughout the day, I received cheerful messages and pictures from my cousins, who were enjoying their own holiday. There was no disappointment, no resentment, just joy and laughter, which reminded me that my decision didn't hurt anyone, it protected me. By standing up for myself, I hadn't ruined Christmas for anyone else, but I had reclaimed it for me. Later, my parents called again. Their tone had softened slightly, though I could sense lingering disappointment. They didn't fully understand my choice, but they respected it. And in that moment, I realized something important. Boundaries don't make you selfish, they make you human. Protecting your time and your well-being is essential, even when it comes to family and holidays. That Christmas taught me the value of saying no, the courage it takes to prioritize yourself, and the peace that comes from asserting your own needs. I discovered that I didn't have to sacrifice my happiness for the expectations of others, even during the season that was supposed to be about giving. By changing my plans, I had not only preserved my joy but also reminded my family that my life, my time, and my choices mattered. That year, Christmas became a symbol of self-respect, independence, and the quiet satisfaction of finally putting myself first. I had always loved the holiday season, but that year, Christmas felt different. Instead of looking forward to joy and celebration, I was dreading a repeat of what had become an all too familiar pattern with my family. In the past, I had been the one to step in, to rearrange my life to accommodate their plans and their children. That year, however, I decided things would be different. I had made plans for myself that I wasn't willing to give up, no matter how much my family tried to guilt me into compliance. It all started when I received a message from my sister, innocently disguised as a casual question. She mentioned that our parents expected me to babysit all 5 of my cousins on Christmas. My heart sank instantly. I reread the text several times, thinking I must have misread it. But there it was, 5 kids, an entire day, and an assumption that I would drop everything for them. It wasn't phrased as a request or even a favor, it was stated as if it were already decided. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could they assume I would sacrifice my holiday for their convenience without even asking me? Over the years, I had often been the responsible one, the one expected to step in whenever it was convenient for them. But this crossed a line. I had plans, commitments, and dreams for that day that were mine alone. I had every right to say no. And yet, a small part of me feared their reaction. Would they be angry, disappointed? Would they accuse me of being selfish? I decided to act quickly. I sent a polite but firm message to my parents and sister, explaining that I had already made plans that could not be rescheduled. I emphasized that while I loved my cousins, taking care of 5 children for an entire day was unreasonable. I pressed send and immediately felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. I knew my decision might be met with resistance, but I also knew it was the only way to protect my time and sanity. As expected, my parents called shortly after. Their voices were a blend of shock, confusion, and subtle guilt-tripping. "But it's Christmas," my mom said, as though the holiday itself entitled them to commandeer my time. My dad tried to reason with me, listing all the ways I had, always helped, the family. I listened carefully, resisting the urge to argue. I realized that nothing I said would change their expectations if I didn't stand my ground. So I calmly repeated my stance. I wasn't refusing to help forever, I was refusing to let my holiday be hijacked. For the first time, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. Saying no, even to family, was liberating. It was a statement that my time mattered, that my plans mattered, and that my happiness mattered. I realized that standing up for myself didn't make me selfish, it made me someone who valued her own life and her own joy. I could feel the tension in the conversation, but I didn't waver. I had made my choice, and I was determined to stick to it. Christmas morning arrived, and I woke with an unexpected sense of peace. There were no screaming children, no messes to clean up, no endless demands. I made myself a cup of coffee, put on my favorite sweater, and allowed myself to fully enjoy the day. I watched the snow fall outside, listened to holiday music, and finally felt a sense of quiet that I hadn't experienced in years. I spent the morning baking cookies for myself, wrapping small gifts I had purchased, and simply savoring the solitude and calm. Throughout the day, I received cheerful messages and photos from my cousins, who were happily spending time with other family members. There was no disappointment, no resentment, just joy. Seeing them happy reinforced my belief that my decision hadn't hurt anyone, it had simply preserved my own happiness. I realized that I could love my family without sacrificing my well-being. Protecting my time didn't mean I was unkind or uncaring, it meant I was valuing myself as well. Later in the day, my parents called again. Their tone had softened slightly, tinged with reluctant respect. They didn't fully understand my decision, and I could sense lingering disappointment, but they recognized my boundary. It was a small victory, but a significant one. I had taken a stand and shown that my life, my plans, and my happiness were just as important as anyone else's. That Christmas taught me an invaluable lesson. It showed me that it is okay to say no, even to family, and that prioritizing yourself does not make you selfish. It showed me that boundaries are essential for maintaining one's sanity and joy, even during a season that emphasizes giving and sacrifice. And most importantly, it reminded me that taking control of your own life and choices is the most empowering gift you can give yourself. By the end of the day, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. I had changed the narrative. I hadn't allowed myself to be used or taken for granted. Instead, I had reclaimed my holiday, creating a space for joy, peace, and self-respect. That Christmas became a turning point. A moment when I realized that valuing myself wasn't just necessary, it was transformative. It was a Christmas that truly belonged to me, and in that ownership, I found the kind of happiness that no one could ever take away.